go. Here
I
we
was like,
go.
you know what? We
And
gotta do
I'm
this right now.
live, yo. Guess who I
What up?
guess who I got? Oh my God. So man, listen, anybody who I know who has seen me go live has asked me a million times, when are you going on with your sister? Because they know that we got crazy chemistry. They know
Uh-huh.
she's funny as hell. And I think it's about time, yo. What's going on?
What up, everybody? It's Michelle, BoojiMimi, aka self-made zillionaire, baby.
We're chilling, man. What do
We
you
up
call
in
it?
here.
Every time I've thought about doing this, right? I'm always like, yo, we got to be careful because not only do we have a million and one stories growing up,
And jokes.
but we got to watch out for names and the shit that we say. But I'm like, oh my God, I think about just so many funny times and so
Dude,
much bullshit.
I ran into somebody not too long ago, and to be honest with you, I don't even remember this person from back in the day, right? But the first thing they asked me was like, how's your brother doing? And I'm like, he's doing great. He's writing a book. He's freaking amazing. He's all of this or whatever, bigging you up. And
Yeah.
he's like, I remember a time and you guys had us laughing so hard. And I'm like, you know how many times I've had like that? I'm like, I'm sorry, but I can't remember, man, because it's too many. It's too many. From standing on the corner and not being able to find the house to like I can't even. Oh man, do we even want to go into that? I'm
we
like,
can
how did I
start. We
make
can
it to
start right there.
adulthood?
We can start right there. Let's start right there. That's a hot take, man. That
But I'm
shit
like,
was hilarious.
how did I even make it to adulthood?
I don't know, man. I don't know. That shit
This
is
is crazy. This is
so.
crazy.
So me and Michelle have been on some funny ass adventures. So one of the stories, right? We lived in North Bergen our whole life, and we decided that we were. Our mom moved to Garfield,
Garfield.
New Jersey, right? And I had
Let me
come home
chime
from
in though.
college.
As sheltered as we were, we hadn't been anywhere else but North Bergen at that point, I think. And so everything else was just completely foreign.
Oh man, so we didn't know what the hood looked like. We didn't know what any of that looked like over there. We knew what just we knew what our area looked like. We didn't know about over there, so we didn't know what where we crossed over into a different town or anything. So we decide. I'm home from college, and me and Michelle decide we're gonna smoke some weed. We're gonna smoke some Mary Jane. So Michelle had some weed, and I was like, all right, cool,
Of course,
let's
I
smoke
had
some
some
weed.
weed.
So mind you, we didn't have anything to roll it in. So let's just
I rolled it in envelope paper.
Michelle goes MacGyver on us, and I see her. She's rolling it in envelope paper, and I get the genius idea: dip it in honey. That way, it kind of like all sticks together.
It was
And
the
then we're like,
slowest burning blunt ever on the face of this earth.
and then we decide we're gonna put it in the microwave to really seal the deal. So we're
No
like, all
home
right,
training,
cool, we
man.
did it. We got this makeshift freaking joint, and we get downstairs and we go for a walk. Mind you, we live in this neighborhood. We go for a walk, and we go to smoke this joint. We go over by the railroad tracks.
Mind you, we had no idea that we lived like really close to the hood.
Yeah, we lived like a block over from like a tough
We were
neighborhood,
like
right?
right across the train tracks.
Yeah, like, wild shit would happen over there. So we're just walking, not knowing. And so now here's the deal. Here's the kicker. I don't know if the marijuana was that strong or if it was the freaking toxins from the envelope, from the glue that was getting us that high.
It was
All
the
I know is that
glue.
we were toasted. We
It
got
was the
freaking
glue.
toasted. We might have made one left and maybe a right, and we were completely
Cheech
freaking
and Chong had
lost.
nothing on us that day, I'm telling you.
We were
And,
lost.
and we looked for the house for 30 minutes.
And we're looking
30
at each other like,
minutes. Mike,
we're
I
never
was
going to find
looking at
home.
you like, no. And then the best part about it, do you remember this? The best part about it is that we would look for the house, then forget we were looking for the house
So walking. Wait,
and
what?
start laughing hysterically. Look at each other. And then be like, "Where are we looking for the house again?"
Wait,
Did that like 3 times.
Until what happened? Then all of a sudden we panicked. We saw the white van, and we were like, "What do we do?"
We saw a white van, and we thought we were gonna get abducted.
Drive by. We're like, drive by, and we start running.
We thought we were gonna get abducted. Oh my God!
We were
like,
running. And all of a sudden we stop, right? And we start to talk, and we're talking. They're like, "Yo, we're never gonna find a house. Yo, how the hell did we get so lost? This is crazy." All of a sudden we turn around and we're right in front of the house.
No, I tap you on the shoulder, and I'm like, Mike, look. I'm like, look. You're like, oh shit.
I was like, oh shit, we're in front of the house. And then Ceci wouldn't let us in.
Ceci wouldn't let us in the house. What were you guys doing? What's the password? Deuce Bigelow, male gigolo.
Deuce Bigelow, male gigolo. Oh my God. How about this? How about all the people that used to come to our house? All your friends. We had them convinced that if we wrapped them up in a blanket and tossed them around like a potato sack, that means that they
were initiated.
That they got initiated.
That was abuse. I don't even know why they wanted to be my friend.
They're like, oh, can I get initiated? Can I get initiated? I want to get initiated.
They would literally wrap them in a blanket. They would come to the house just to get initiated. And you don't know this part, the whole process, right? Because they'd come to me and be like, well, I heard so-and-so got initiated. I'm not going to name any names, right? And I'm like, the heck are you talking about? Yeah, I heard they got initiated in your house. So can I get initiated too? So I'm like, all right, there's rules to this game, all right? I'm like, don't say anything. I'm gonna go in the room to talk to my brother. If he agrees, we'll initiate you. That's how it would go down. And then I'd play the whole thing out because I'd come home and I'd tell you, like, I'd step into your room, be like, initiator.
All of a sudden, out of nowhere, the blanket goes over the head, and we literally just drag them through the house, bumping them like this. These girls would come out with their hair all over the place.
That's like, so abusive.
Glasses all messed up. Am I in? They're like, yeah.
Oh man, that was great, man. So Mikey,
what's up?
I asked you to go live with me because I just want to let you know, man, I'm so super duper proud of you, man. You're really doing your thing. So many people have hit me up and they're like, yo, your brother, man, he's really going in. He's doing his thing. I'm like, I know. And Lord knows, you know what I mean? You faced adversity more than anybody I know. And so it's really, really powerful to see you right now in this position. You know what I mean? What really inspired you? I really want to know this. Like, this is a sincere question. What really inspired you?
Me, you were absolutely one of the cornerstones of that allowed me to kind of open my mind. So when you go through a lot of things in your life, if you don't address them, they're gonna come out of in your life in a different area. They're gonna pop out. And I've been through so much. I don't have to go into it.
Quick side note, though. Yeah. Hold that thought. I'm going to write it down because I actually had a breakthrough, and we could probably do another live about that in particular. So.
Yeah. So I went through so much stuff, and one day I was talking to you, and you were like, maybe you're depressed. And it's funny because I've always been have fun. Yo, like, cool, everything's good. Mike, I'm fine. No, whatever. It wasn't until you brought that to light where I was like, yo, maybe I am. Maybe I haven't, I haven't been through a lot. Maybe I haven't addressed it. Like, what's going on, right?
I don't know anybody that could go through what you've been through and not be, like, mentally screwed up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like you grab it and you shove it down your throat and you don't address it. And then, I sought help. I did seek out professional help, and a lot of what they told me was, a lot of these answers, you can, requires you're very insightful on what's going on with you. You know what I mean? It's not like you don't understand where it's coming from. You do have a lot of insight. And they were like, yo, have you tried meditation? They offered me meditation, and it just so happened that right when they gave me that that advice,
Remedy.
that treatment, COVID hit. So I was kind of forced into meditation, where I was home by myself. I lived by
See?
myself,
God is
and I
good,
would either be
man.
watching TV,
When you
I'd
don't
shut
want
it
to do
off,
something.
right, and then all of a sudden, I just started processing things and just really deep into my thoughts. And then it was just one day, it felt like the cloud disappeared from my head. It literally just disappeared. And I felt like I always equate it to, if there's an animal, right, and there's food right in front of it, but it's about to get killed. The animal's brain says, don't touch that food, don't move, because you're gonna get killed. It goes into like the self-preservation. And I felt like my brain did the same exact thing. It said, we cannot deal with anything else because we're busy trying to keep you alive, mentally trying to keep you sane. We're trying, so all my energy went to that. So once my mind cleared and at least, it opened up, all of a sudden I was able to, I had this creative in me. I had this writer in me. And people always used to, you should write a book about your life. You should put a book about your life. And I was always like, and that's not the book that came to me, but all of a sudden this creative in me came out. All of a sudden, it's like this overflow. But not only in that aspect of my life, all of a sudden love was available to me. I was able to love, which is
Not a
something that really,
coincidence.
really wasn't, I don't know. Don't get me wrong, it was there. I had already fallen in love, but it was like, I didn't really fully grasp the magnitude of what it could be until that happened. And then once it happened, it's been a nonstop creative journey ever since. Whether I've dabbled in going live streaming, whether I've dabbled in continue to write, whether it's whether it's interviewing people on, and honestly, something inside of me motivated me to say, invest in people. Don't ask for anything. Invest in people. The universe will pay you. The universe will bring you everything you need if you do everything you're doing with goodwill. That's why any sponsors that I had, I did them because I offered the sponsorship. I didn't ask for anything. If you have a business, I offer you advertisement. Why? Just because I see you hustling. If you're an artist, I offer you exposure just because I see you. And it's all based on the fact that if I give, the universe will take care of me. I don't have to. Nobody has to give me anything.
That's
And
beautiful.
the book was inspired by. So there's a narrative, right, that marriage is a bad thing. It's like a real narrative where, like, if you watch the internet, if you watch shows, they try to make you think that marriage is a bad thing. And I literally had so many amazing couples around me that are happy that I was like, no, marriage is not a bad thing. And then I would look and I would talk to a couple of my friends, talk to other people, and I would get their version of the story and I would hear them. But being raised with women, I kind of almost had that angle as well. So when they would talk to me, I'd be like, yeah, no, man.
Three very different types of women too, because none of us are really the same,
Exactly. There's the heavy communicator, there's the action, there's the, you know what I'm saying? It's everybody's, and it's funny because you find these guys that really love their wives, that really care for them. They would just have to tweak. They just have to make little changes on what they did, what they said. So, that allowed me to kind of just, I literally grabbed a little piece of everybody that I know, and I wrote the book. And then I would talk to the women in my life, and I would ask them, "Yo, is this accurate? Do you think this is right? What do you think it is?" And you guys would come back and be like, "Yo, that's on point. That's good. Maybe change that. That's perfect. Oh wow, yeah, that's great." So it wasn't like I wrote it with no input from women. I wrote it with a legit, sizable amount of input from the people around me, and I think it's pretty good, man. I know everybody who's looked at it.
Well, from what I've read, I can definitely say that it made me reflect on past relationships, and it allowed me to take ownership, you know what I mean, for my part, and you have to go through a healing process as well, because once you realize that you had a part in this, you know what I mean, you have to really sit down, forgive yourself, and ask God for forgiveness and learn the lesson and keep it moving, but definitely it's a deep book, man. It's really good. I hope and I pray, and I'm even sending that message out there for whoever's watching. if you are a man, period, and you want to be with women, right? Or even not, even if you want to be with men, I guess it's still relative, right?
Right.
Read this book. Read this book, because it's not even just about, I just had an epiphany. It's not even about romantic relationships. It's about relationships, period. Like, you can also relate it to other things, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's connecting, it's understanding, it's understanding that it's not enough to say something, it's how is a person receiving it, how are they accepting what I'm saying, but more, and once you understand who your woman is, mind you, this is the person that you're supposed to trust. This is the person that you confide in. This is the person that whatever. Like, I always talk about communication for a woman equals love.
Mhm.
Communication for a woman equals love. That's why when they come home from work, they want to sit there and they want to tell you about that girl. She's trying to ruin my life. Oh, I can't stand that. Da, da, da. And they're not necessarily looking for the answer. All they want to know is that you're there so that you could listen. You know what I mean? And what they're saying is, I love you. Because they could have, you guys have sisters. You guys have friends you can go and talk to. But you chose me. You chose to confide in me. You chose to talk to me. So where I could treat it as, and this is annoying, but it's a compliment. It's a compliment, you know? I mean, what I try to convey to men is, yo, vulnerability is not weakness. Vulnerability is not weakness. Stop with that. You got to stop pushing that narrative. I mean, a lot of it is on women because they make you feel like you damn near have to be Tupac to get a woman. But at the same token, we have to look at each other. And it goes back to how I ended up on this journey. I was bottling a lot of my feelings, a lot of my emotions. I wasn't dealing with because I was afraid to look weak. I was afraid to look soft. I was afraid, you know what I'm saying? You hear the term man up, all that stuff. And what it was doing was it was literally killing me. You know what I mean? And it does that to a lot of men. You know, that's why a lot of men, they hit 60, 65 years old and they get super sick because they went their whole life not eating up with the stress and the drama.
Yeah.
Not sharing, you know what I'm saying? Not opening up. And, you know, like I push that narrative in the book. I'm like, this is the woman that you love? Okay, maybe you can't be vulnerable with a lot of people. You can't trust a lot of people, but you're vulnerable with the woman that you love. She's the one that's going to get the weakness in you and you get to talk to her. You know what I'm saying? She's the one that's going to hear you out. She's the one that's going to be there for you. So you got to understand, once you understand that dynamic, that's step one in being able to kind of like function in a good relationship, you know? Communication. That's what it all comes down to. It's communication, you know? And then you talk about, you know, I touch on a couple that grows together. When a couple grows together, they it's important that they have each other, their own hobbies, their own life, right? But they also have something that they come together on that is unique to their relationship. Not even their kids take part in it. It's like I always talk about my neighbor. I have a neighbor that's been married 35 years. And my neighbor, after, you know, I always ask the same question. So what's the secret? And, you know, he goes through the usual, you know, we have faith, this, that, blah, blah, blah. He said something that caught my eye. He says, she makes me laugh. I was like, really? He goes, yeah, she makes me laugh. I'm like, tell me about that. He goes, when I was young and poor, because now he's rich, he's a wealthy man. When he was poor, he says, when I was young and poor and I didn't have a dime, we can go to New York City and people watch and we could laugh. And that's what we did together. We would laugh. And as we got older, we always enjoyed funny movies. She always made me laugh. My kids would be like, what do you find so funny? And she always cracked me up, even if it was at the expense of the kids. And as we got older and we were more financially set, we used to go to comedy shows. And then finally, we used to rent to Winnebago, right? And we would go to the Montreal. Our escape would be to the Montreal Comedy Festival. I think it was like a week or two. We would go out there, and it was just me and her. We never invited kids, grandkids, nobody. Just me and her. Every year for the last 20 years, we would go to the Montreal Comedy Festival, and that was our getaway. And nobody's ever been able to get in between that. You know, and even now with COVID, we're in the house together, and we crack each other up. You know? And all I got from it, what I got from it was, he has his life, the things that he does, that she has the things that she enjoys, And then they have this unique thing that's like a snowflake. It's like a blueprint. It's like a fingerprint that's exclusive to
Yeah,
their
it's unique.
relationship, and they build a life around it.
Oh.
And once they build that life around it, I mean, they could always revert back. He says, whenever times got tough, we would laugh together. We would make a joke. We'd come back to each other, you know? And I found it super fascinating. I found it fascinating. And that was part of the inspiration for the chapter called A Couple That Grows Together, you know?
That's
And then,
beautiful.
yeah, it's communicate. Infidelity. I talk about infidelity in the book. And see, here's the thing about advice, right? When women tend to give each other advice, they give each other advice based on their past trauma. So they don't give you advice on what you're actually going through. They're giving you advice based on, I would never do that. But they don't finish the sentence. What they're trying to say is, I would never do that again. Like that happens, I would never do that again. And a lot of them give advice from that point of view, right? Men tend to give each other advice based on their ego. So like if a woman's unfaithful, oh, you better leave. What are you, crazy? Hell no. They completely ignore the circumstances of the relationship and they just address that part of it because they're giving you advice with their ego.
Ugh.
You know what I mean? And what I tried to write in the book was you need to, number one, confide in people that are going to give you advice that don't have a dog in the fight, number one. Number two, that have remove themselves from the situation. And understanding that, sometimes it's not black and white.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's more serious than you might think. It's hard. It's very hard to walk away from a ready-made home with your children, in a school, in a place, in a whatever. You know what I mean?
Finances intertwined.
Yeah, like how you walk away from that. You outweigh, you're like, I'm supposed to leave this for some other woman? You know what I mean? Or things like that. There's a lot of, not that I know the answer, but there's a lot that goes into it. You know what I mean? And I talk about how women will leave a man who cannot provide much faster than they leave a man who's unfaithful. And people don't believe it. They're like, no, that doesn't make sense. The leading cause of divorce is what? It's finances. It's not infidelity. You know what I mean? And
I was in a very toxic relationship for a long time, and to the point where I just couldn't stand the person, but he was a damn good provider. And I'm not a gold digger by any stretch, but it was what kept me like that security. You know what I mean? Feeling safe, not having to worry financially is what kept me there, you know? And until one day I just snapped out of it and I was like, I can get all of this and do all of this myself, you know?
That's the deal. See, the deal is this, right? A woman will only go so far, right? And then one day when she finally quits and gives up and she's gone, she's usually gone forever. And when she's gone, she weighs the infidelity with the same amount of weight she weighed anything else. And it's not that she was there for the money. It's not that she was there for the money. It's a lot of it has to do with this is her family. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm putting my family before me. I'll eat shit, but I'm putting my family before me and let her. A lot of times, you know, the narrative is, oh no, she's there for the money. She look at that lifestyle she's living. I've met too many women that will tell you, look, I would give up that shit in a minute if the guy would just, you know what I'm saying? Stop cheating. You know, this is crazy. I don't want this. And usually when they leave that, they swing the pendulum to the opposite side where they get a guy who's just completely emotionally in tune and maybe doesn't have money. You know what I mean? But it's what do you call it? One of those situations. So yeah, the book touches on that. Then finally, not finally, I touch on a chapter called The Mental Orgasm. And it sounds sexual, but it's really not. It's more so about expressing to men that after a long time together, you guys just aren't as attracted to each other as you were in the beginning. It's just not on the forefront, the attraction, physical attraction. It's not keeping you there. It's not keeping a woman. So in order for a man to get the coveted great treatment, he needs to appeal to those senses to touch that G-spot in her brain, in her head. And if he can do that and reach that, see, the problem is when you're young and you're a basketball player, let's say a young basketball player, he could run, he could dunk. So he can rely on his physicality, right? He doesn't really have to rely on the mental part of the game. As you get older, you're in your 40s, you can't, maybe you could dunk every now and then, but your physical just isn't what it used to be.
You can be
So
out for the
you need
count for a
to,
couple of days.
right, you know what I'm saying? You know, you get bad knees and shit. So you have to rely on the mental part of the game, let's say, right? Well, when you're a young guy, you work from the body to the mind. So you ever hear a woman say, I mean, obviously you have, oh, I need to relax and concentrate in order for her to get there, right? Okay. Well, I tell guys, imagine this. Imagine this. You already got her there. Now all you have to do is touch her physically and she's ready to go.
And that's how it happens.
Work
That's
smarter, not
exactly how
harder.
it happens. Because if you don't stimulate me mentally, no way in hell we're even going to go there. You know?
Smarter, not harder. So a lot of these guys with their when I talk to them, right, like with some of the coaching that I do, they ask me about the fantasy. Okay, I used to work as a gym teacher up in Fort Lee, and one of the things I was taught was how you introduce a new sport. And the way it goes is, let's say it was soccer. We would teach the rules. We would teach how to pass, how to kick, right? There was always that group of kids, oh, I already know how to play soccer. Can't we just play? Can't we just play? And you would be like, okay, slow down. And you would teach the reason you did that, it wasn't for the kids that knew how to play. It was for the kids that didn't know how to play. So that when they played the game, they would be able to enjoy it and everybody would have fun. I tell guys, that's how you introduce a fantasy. When you have a fantasy with your woman, you introduce it in parts and you make sure that it's mutually beneficial. You know, you do it and you set her up so that she can have fun and participate on the same level that you're having fun. As opposed to,
I see a lot of dudes messing this one up, man.
Oh man, you don't even know. You don't even know. You talk, you're like, oh, no wonder you're not getting that. Oh, you haven't done. Yeah, I could see why. You know, the problem is this, Michelle.
No
The problem is this. The problem is this. A lot of us were taught certain sexual acts based on porno. Okay, that's the problem. A lot of us were learned, you know what I'm saying? We're taught through porno. So we think certain things are about asserting our manhood and dominance, when that's not the deal. That's not what it is.
Yeah.
Pain is only acceptable when she's asking for it, when it's mutually beneficial, when she wants it. So that's not a part of the equation. You know what I mean? So there's things that men will do, and they do it with that porno scene in their mind, and they even, you know what I'm saying? And you're like, yo, slow down. Think introducing a sport. Slow down. Introduce this. Introduce that. Slowly. Show her this.
Simplifies it for them to understand, you know?
Right. And before you know it, she's the master of the sport. You know what I'm saying? And she's killing you in the shit. So, you know, but if only guys took the time to understand that and work smarter, not harder. So that's something I address. Obviously, that's a long section that addresses a lot of other things and how to do that, how to, you know, create intimacy on smaller levels. There's guys have things in their mind where they think they need to do these big productions. You know what I mean? And I'm like, when was the last time you text her at 3 o'clock in the afternoon when you're super busy? Just say I love you. Yeah. And you'll be like, well, you know, exactly. You know what I mean? It's simple. When was the last time you walked past her and slapped her on the ass? Simple little shit. Like you would think. The reason I say the slap on the ass shit is because, again, my neighbor's working on his yard in the front. And I watch them, and they still Google like, you know, he has her giggling like a schoolgirl. And I'm watching, and he walks up past her. I watch him look at her. She's bent over. He walks past her, looks around like nobody's looking, and slaps her on the ass and keeps it moving. And she starts to giggle. Right?
It's cute.
And I'm like, that's a man that gets it. Because that slap on the ass, it relays so much of a message. Obviously, he looked at her. He found her attractive. He told her, I find you sexy. I find you attractive. And that's what that message relayed. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So there's ways to tell them how you're feeling. You know, and then there's, you know, there's, like I said, there's a part about, I wrote in the book about postpartum depression. Again, I didn't address the woman because I would never dare say what a woman feels, what she went through, or what she goes through.
Right.
But I know what a man goes through. And
yeah, that was a pretty deep and revealing too, because it was something that you experienced. You know what I mean? I think we had a conversation prior to you writing that chapter, and it was exactly what I wanted out of it. Like when you wrote it out and I was able to see the vulnerability behind it, because you really had to dig deep for that one. I think that was probably very therapeutic for you.
Yes, and I made sure that like I wrote what I did, and it's almost like I put in what I should have done, and what I didn't see, and what I see now, and why. You know what I'm saying? Where I made my, and I kind of put myself out there, but I put it out there so that when people read this, they understand that, like, you know, there's a lot of YouTube stuff about what the woman goes through. There's a lot of books, you know, and there's even some books about, I mean, some YouTube and stuff like that, like media, internet, about what a guy goes through. But I haven't yet, and I went deep looking for it, trying to find something that talks about the day she feels better and she's kind of back to herself, right? That little time period after that, because you're still walking on eggshells. You're still fucking going crazy, not knowing what's what. And she's fine. Everybody's good again. And you're supposed to just be like, oh, okay, I'm good too. And in reality, you're not. And that's when a lot of problems, either for being selfish, not understanding, there's a lot of things that come out of that. That if I could relay that to anybody who read the book and they see it, the one thing I do say in the book, it happens. Like if you put a frog in a pot and you turn the water slow, it'll die. You didn't even realize it was boiling. But if you put the frog in a boiling water, it jumps out, right?
Yeah.
Well, it could happen either way. You could be the frog that jumped out where you realized, oh shit, something's going on right away. Or you could be the frog that boiled slowly and had no idea. In my case, I was the frog that boiled slowly.
Yeah.
I didn't know what the hell was going on around me. I didn't understand. As many books as I had read, as many YouTubes I had watched, as much internet research I had done, it still blindsided me. And that's the message I want to convey. I want you to be like, you're not alone. Trust me, you're not alone. A lot of guys go through it. She's not broken. She's not dead. There's nothing. This is natural. This is gonna happen. You know what I'm saying? The only thing predictable is
having faith too, because your mind will tell you 1,000,001 things. But I mean, having faith in God will get you through pretty much anything, I think. So during that time, I think if your faith would have been stronger during that time, you probably would have been able to do it.
Yes, mine. What do you call it? Not hers, mine. Because I'm the one that fell short. I'm the one that didn't understand. So I really wanted to push that message in the book. Another part of the book is, what do you call it? A couple that grows together. There's communication. There's infidelity. There's the mental orgasm. There's the quiet storm, which is the one about, what do you call it? And there's what's the other chapter? Why can't I remember? There's another chapter. And either way, I went, and a lot of it is, like I said, is based on friends, family, conversations that I've had, help that people have asked me for, like, hey, can you help me out? Whatever. And I literally just put it to paper, and it came super natural. It came really, really naturally. And my creative hours are 4:30 in the morning to like about 9.
Yeah.
That's when I'm at my peak creativity. Like, I don't know what it is, man. I wake up at 4 in the morning and I'm super like ready to write. Whether it's now on Instagram, whether it's a meme, whether it's this, whether it's that, or whether it's a full chapter in a book. It's happening between 4:30 and 9. Everything I do after that is basically kind of read into it, look at it, stuff like that. But you know, it's
very dope, man. Very, very dope. It's a great story. So we've been on here for about 45 minutes.
About 35 is good.
I'm like, I gotta get back to work.
Yo,
I don't want to.
I got you. Nah,
it's horrible that you're so far away, man.
Don't worry about it, man. Hopefully soon we all get together. Pandemic's almost it's not over or whatever, but it's at least people are getting their vaccine. We get to kind of be around each other again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? See each other.
You know, I was thinking about this, right? And we've always been so tight knit, you know, the 5 of us. And I'm like, how did we get through all this? I'm like, this is horrible. For the few months that I wasn't able to see Ceci, I was a mess. Like, I'm like, I need to see my sister. I got to figure something out, you know? And I was a little used to not seeing you guys because you're down in Florida. But at least if I could be around her, it would have been a little bit better. But the first few months of this was just torture because of that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it made me realize how much like I really, really need you guys. I'm like, oh my gosh.
You're in line. Like we talk every day, we text every day, and it's like
All day, every day. So I'm
all
like,
day.
who are you missing? Who are you missing? We
The
talk
best
all
shit is
day,
the
every
best
day.
shit is when you put your phone somewhere and you come back to your phone and you miss 45 messages. You're like, the fuck? What happened?
Mm-hmm. Or no, or you're hanging out with your mate and they keep hearing your phone go off, phone go off, phone go off.
Yeah, they're looking
And
at
I'm
you
like, it's
sideways
my
like, what the fuck is
siblings.
that?
It's my siblings. He's like, yeah, right. It's not your sibling. I'm like, I swear.
All right, Meech, I gotta let you go because I gotta meet with somebody.
All
But
right,
yo, man, we gotta do this again. We got a million stories. So up
Yeah.
until next time, I love you, kid. All right.
I love you. Bye.